Welcome back. This is Marc Rudov, branding advisor to CEOs and author of this brand new book, The Need for Control, Insecurity Run Amok. And if ever there were a great example of a guy who needs to control others, it would be Chuck Schumer in the Senate from New York. Unless you've been sleeping under a rock, you know that Chuck Schumer, who is Jewish, endorses a Nazi, Graham Platner, who's running for the Senate in Maine. He's endorsing Graham Platner, who's a known dirtbag, and I'll show you that in a second. But Chuck Schumer doesn't care, because what he cares about more than anything in the world is control. Watch this.
Right here, this young man.
On Graham Platner, are you satisfied with the explanations he's given for the controversies his campaign has faced right now? Are you concerned about what we've heard?
I met with Graham Platner today. We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate.
Are you?
So you're saying that Dana Mills, your preferred candidate, there's been rattlings that she should get back in. You're standing behind Graham Platner, to be clear here?
We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate. Yes.
Schumer, does Democrats sticking behind Graham Platner, does that hurt their credibility in attacking Ken Paxton?
We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate. Any other subject you got? Any other subject? Yes, you're right there.
Do you believe that Janet Hill should unsuspend her campaign?
We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate. Last one.
You have not said if you're still endorsing Graham Platner. Are you still supporting Graham Platner?
As I said, I endorsed Graham Platner. We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate. Thank you.
So you can see that he doesn't care who Graham Platner is. He doesn't care about his pedigree, his dirtbag past, his disgusting persona. All he cares about is defeating Susan Collins, the Republican of Maine, and gaining control of the Senate, because he wants to make D.C. and Puerto Rico states. He wants to pack the Supreme Court. That's all he cares about. If you don't know anything about Graham Platner, let's watch Jesse Waters, who last night summed it up pretty well. Go.
The New York Times just dropped a doozy on Graham Platner. 24 people, diaries, texts, emails, the whole works. 3 of his exes paint the same picture: volatile, reckless, demeaning to women. They say he drank heavily, cheated on all of them, even got physical. One woman wrote in her diary 10 years ago, "He's the most toxic, literally abusive man on earth who destroyed my life." Another said he hated women. And another called herself collateral damage. He thought the world was his. One ex says he could be rough, leaving her shaken and afraid. He regularly grabbed her by the shoulders, sometimes hard enough to leave marks. During one fight, she says he twisted her arm behind her back, shoved her into a bedroom, and held the door shut so she couldn't get out. Many people are calling these allegations domestic abuse or assault. For the record, Platner denies it. He called this a dark period in his life where he struggled with PTSD and drank too much. He admitted he was a far from perfect boyfriend, but called the abuse allegations false and politically motivated. Of the 3 women, one works in Republican politics, another is a registered Democrat, and the other is choosing to remain anonymous. One ex says he kept an AR-15 lying around his D.C. apartment, which, by the way, is illegal, and sharpened his axe in front of the TV. This was before Trump's D.C. crime crackdown, so maybe it was for self-defense. Speaking of self-defense, Platner fantasized about killing anyone he saw as a threat. Quote, he said this a lot: "If anybody broke in here, I would rape them, but not in a gay way." Platner's campaign did not dispute he said that. And the Nazi tattoo he swears was an innocent mistake, he knew it was a Nazi tattoo the whole time. Called it my Totenkopf and laughed about it. Said his Marine buddies decided to get it because they were a death squad, just like the Nazi guards at the concentration camps. By 2021, he dropped, in his words, any of the patriotic nonsense that made him enlist. And he was just a, quote, vegetable-growing, psychedelics-taking socialist. Still got the guns, though. Those guns weren't for game. Platner trained Maine's Socialist Rifle Association right after the BLM riots. He wore an Antifa super soldier patch. All this comes 48 hours after Platner's emergency meeting with Senate Democrats in D.C., where they asked him, Graham, is there anything else we need to know? Liz Warren confronted him and said, is anyone going to accuse you of sexual assault? Platner reportedly responded, not credibly. But he cut his trip to the Capitol short and bolted back to Maine because ex-girlfriends were talking. He started calling ex-girlfriends, telling them, please, talk to the Times. Tell them I'm a good guy. And some of them did, but a bunch didn't. Senators hate being lied to. Makes them look like fools. They can lie to us all the time, but don't you dare lie to them. A lot of these guys campaigned with the Oysterman. They vouched for him on the record, on camera. Even after the Nazi tattoo, the controversial comments about whites, blacks, women, Purple Heart recipients, and the sexting. And his profile, still active. The app's known as a, quote, predator's paradise, filled with minors. Now, we don't know if he was sending nudes. We don't know if the girls were underage, but there were a dozen of them. And this is right up until last year. This guy has terrible judgment.
So why do you suppose Chuck is like this? Well, if you've read my book, The Need for Control, you will know that all of this need for control and the need to be controlled, the need to control others and the need to be controlled by others, is rooted in childhood dysfunction and trauma. You really can't find much about Chuck Schumer's upbringing except that it was pretty good. Except there's one thing that everybody's missing. He graduated at the top of his class in high school. He was valedictorian. He got a perfect score, 1,600 on his SAT. His parents wanted him to be a doctor. They scrimped and they saved and they worked their asses off to provide for their children. And Chuck was going to be a superstar. And yet he chose politics. Chuck has never, ever had a job. Never. His parents were angry that he went into politics earning nothing instead of becoming a wealthy provider because they invested in him. So I believe that's where it is. The power struggle between him and his parents. They wanted to push him in one direction. He wanted to go in the opposite direction. He wanted to be a politician. In my opinion, and this is my opinion, Chuck knew he didn't have what it took to be successful in the private sector. He was never even in a law firm. So he was book smart, clearly, but I've never seen any evidence of any brilliance ever. Anytime he's speaking in the Senate, he's always reading. He never speaks off the cuff intelligently. So you just saw him saying, like a robot, we want, Susan Collins, we have to beat Susan Collins. And he doesn't care that this Graham Platner doesn't deserve to be in the Senate. He doesn't even deserve to be in society. So whenever you see somebody who needs to control others or somebody who needs to be controlled by others, you can learn all about why that is in my book, The Need for Control, Insecurity, Run Amok. And you can get it at theneedforcontrol.com. Until next time, this is Marc Rudov.